Invisible Hand podcast is a metaphor for the unseen forces that move a person's thoughts and intentions. Through individual self-interest and freedom of production, as well as consumption, the best interests of society as a whole are trying to be fulfilled by the Invisible Hand podcast. This podcast is that helping hand to allow you to understand the meaning of that book or lecture you've been meaning to read or listen to, but don't have the spare 4 hours. The Invisible Hand podcast is that tool to help you understand the key insights from the world's best non-fiction books and lectures in less than 15 minutes. In this episode, we feature Mark Manson's Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Today's feature will be covering a key point. Suffering can lead to great things, but if you don't have the right values, you'll never be happy. The best examples of success through struggle can be found in the art world. After all, we tend to imagine the quintessential artist as a poverty-stricken and underappreciated person, someone who refuses to give up until their genius is recognised. And this stereotype is actually more accurate than you'd imagine. Consider the guitarist Dave Mustaine. In 1983, Mustaine was thrown out of his band right when they were on the cusp of fame. Seething with anger at the rejection, Mustaine became determined to show his former bandmates just how wrong they'd been. For 2 years, he worked relentlessly to improve his skills and find the musicians to make an even better band than the one before. The band he went on to form was Megadeth, a hugely popular band that went on to sell over 25 million records. However, despite the success of Megadeth, Mustaine still wasn't happy. He continued to judge his success against the achievement of his former band. And, unfortunately for him, this band was Metallica, one of the world's biggest music acts. Because he compared himself to Metallica, Mustaine called himself a failure, in spite of his obvious success. Mustaine's persistent unhappiness highlights a common danger, measuring one's success against the success of others. For Mustaine, the only way to feel successful was to be more successful than his former bandmates, which meant he was doomed to be disappointed. It goes without saying that you need to find healthier values to judge your achievements by. So, for a brilliant example, take Pete Best. Pete Best is a brilliant example of how the right values can lead to happiness. Like Dave Mustaine, Best was kicked out of a band on the brink of stardom. Alas, for Best, this group happened to be the Beatles, the biggest band of all time. Watching his former bandmates reach the top, Best fell into a deep depression. But then he switched his values. He realised that what he really wanted in life was a loving family and a happy home life. Sure, he still wanted to play music, but he didn't want musical success, or lack of it, to define his life. The refocusing led Best to a happy, fulfilled life. He even went back to enjoying playing music again, this time for a less successful band. So our values are more important than success when it comes to happiness. So you're probably thinking, how do I find the right values to live by? Many people tend to focus on shitty values, so it's important to find some good ones to believe in. We saw that measuring your worth by comparing yourself to others will only lead to disappointment. And this is just one of the many shitty values that can derail you on your path to happiness. Consider pleasure, for instance. Many people choose to make pleasure their priority in life, and yet chasing pleasure above everything else isn't healthy. In fact, it's the central value of drug addicts, adulterers, and gluttons. Research has shown that those who regard pleasure as the greatest good are likely to be anxious and depressed. Another shitty value is your material success as the yardstick for your life, whether it be hankering after a bigger car than your neighbours or flashing your brand new Rolex. This value is incredibly common, and you've probably bought into it at some point, but it doesn't lead to improved well-being. Studies have shown that once our basic needs in life are cared for, extra wealth doesn't increase happiness, and chasing wealth can even have a detrimental effect if we choose to pursue it over values like family, honesty, or integrity. So, how can you avoid shitty values? Well, adherence to shitty values most often derives from a lack of worthwhile values. So, if you never want to be blindly hedonistic, nor covetous of your neighbour's new Mercedes, you'll need to identify values worth living by. These good values should be based in reality, be helpful to society, have immediate effect and a controllable effect. Take honesty. Honesty is a great value to live by because you control it. Only you can decide to be truthful or not. It's based in reality. And because it provides truthful feedback to others, it's helpful. Some other values that fulfill these criteria are creativity, generosity, and humility.